So good morning, everyone. This is Rhonda Ohlson
Morning.
from Womanshine, and it's lovely to have you here in this class today. Today we're doing a really beautiful lesson. It's to help us with our posture, help us find more upright functioning in our posture. So I thought today we'd just start with just coming to standing for a minute and just noticing how you are in standing. How do you sense yourself? Do you feel this lesson is also about slouching. So it's noticing whether your shoulders fold in, whether you feel like you're more upright, how's your back supporting you at the moment. And maybe just have a little walk around and just feel how you're moving. How does your back feel? I think many of us have been, or I have been anyways, sitting at the computer a lot, and so our back can get sort of aching and sore. Good morning, Claire. Welcome. So we're just doing a little walking around, just feeling how you are this morning, like how does your back feel? Notice, is there any slouching? If you sort of like gave yourself a little, a grade from 1 to 10, are you really slouching over, like 10 out of 10, or really upright and feeling really good? Or, so maybe really the other way around, this would be 0 out of 10. This would be, if you're feeling completely upright, 10 out of 10. So I might just go around and just get you to say what it is for you. Like Anne, how would you class yourself today?
Oh, about 6.
About 6. And Trish?
Not too bad. I was thinking about 8, not slouching.
Okay, 8. And Bev?
Yeah, I'm about 8, 9, but I do have a thigh, front of thigh problem, which is probably hip.
Okay.
As well.
And Sue?
Yeah, I'd be about 8, 9. I'm fine, thanks. Yeah, been walking a lot too. So.
Okay, right. And Claire, how do you?
I'm about a 5, I think.
Okay, yeah, okay. So come and sit down again. And today I'm going to share something on my screen. This is what the wonderful part about being on Zoom. I can show you things really quickly. And Peter Ann, sorry, I forgot to ask you. How do you?
About an 8.
About an 8. Okay, radio. So we're just going to compare this to how you experience yourself at the end of the lesson. So I'm going to share my screen with you and show you a few things. So this lesson we're going to be doing today is a lesson from Annette Bunyell's work, and she studied with Moshe Feldenkrais from a little tiny girl. Her parents were involved with Moshe, and so she kind of was brought up with him. And he never wanted the Feldenkrais to be a method after his name. He said what people need to do is just take it and become, do their own thing. And she did that, and she called herself the Annette Bunyell method. And so she developed this program, which I'll just show you. If I go back to the beginning of it, she calls it the 9 essentials of neuromovement, daily tools to overcome pain and increase your flexibility, strength, creativity, and vitality. And I think I've sent this to some of you, and I'll send this to you too, Peter, and I'll just get you after. And so she calls the work neuromovement, but it's the same thing as Feldenkrais. And she says what we're looking at is how do we grow our brain, how do we change the way we think. And so she has these 9 essentials for movement. And the first thing is about moving with attention. So as we do these lessons, we often do very slow movements so that you can feel the way you're moving, feel the sensations in your body. And that's part of the learning, that a big part of the learning, that the brain will immediately start building new connections once we pay attention to what it's doing. We slow the movements way down to learn new skills and overcome limitations. And often people, as we get older, you notice people, they're trying to do something and they'll go faster and faster and become even more disorganized. So to learn a new way of moving, we slow the movements down. We introduce lots of variations, and particularly in this lesson today, there are lots of variations that we'll use in the lessons just to give the brain more information, fresh ideas and more possibilities. The 4th essential is we reduce the force in doing the movements. is if you move too hard, you don't feel so much. And if you just do movements with more sensitivity, you enhance the brain's ability to perceive differences. And another thing that she says, practice with enthusiasm. And I think too, when we get in pain, we can feel very downhearted, just like being enthusiastic about how you, it brings more energy to your body and to your mind as you're doing things. And having flexible goals, not by trying to get it like this lesson today. I'll give you a movement of bringing your knee and your elbow towards each other, but it's not saying you've got to touch them. It's just like, it's more the process that you're going through. How do you do this movement? Not trying to get to an end result. And then she says the learning switch. For the brain to properly do its job, the learning switch needs to be turned on. Expects that you will do, think, or learn something new in each situation, even familiar ones. That's good. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So, like today's lesson, you will have done these movements. Those of you who've done Feldenkrais for a while, it's a flexion lesson, but it's like being fresh, staying fresh with it, and coming to it in a new way. And then in the lessons we use our imagination. So if these movements are too difficult for you, just do them in your imagination. Imagine how you carry out the tasks and dream up as many possibilities as you can. And the last essential is become aware of what you're doing, sensing, thinking, and experiencing at any given moment. And that's when your brain is working at its highest level. So these lessons are called awareness through movement. And so I'm going to come down and show you this. And I thought, this little picture here, I really love this. This is the brain. The brain forms 1,800,000 new connections per second. Wow. On this amazing learning machines, and that's what they do. And as we get older, we tend to, our habits become locked in, and we tend to not grow our brain as much. And that's what Feldenkrais helps to do, make new connections so we can keep growing our brain and living a life where we're feeling better, moving better all the time. So I'm just going to play you a little song that I wrote. Some of you will know this, and just let me know if you can hear it. Yep, here. It's never too late to grow your brain. You don't have to live in so much pain. No, it's never too late to grow your brain. Grow your brain, grow your brain, grow your brain. You know you can learn to change your mind. You really can leave your past behind. No, it's never too late to change your mind. Change your mind, change your mind, change your mind. Coax your brain cells into action. You will get such satisfaction doing movements which give you pleasure. Move and groove at your leisure. You know you can learn to light your spark. You don't have to stay there in the dark. No, it's never too late to light your spark. Light your spark, light your spark, light your spark. Of course you can learn to move anew. It all depends on your point of view. No, it's never too late to learn to move anew. Move anew, move anew, move anew. Coax your brain cells into action. You will get such satisfaction doing movements which give you pleasure. Move, groove at your leisure. One step at a time, and it will seem you'll be in a place you've never dreamed. No, it's never too late to dare to dream. Dare to dream, dare to dream, dare to dream. So that kind of sums it up.
Great song.
Yeah.
Lovely, Rhonda.
Thank you. So you'll have this on I'd send you a recording, Peter Ann, of the whole thing, so you'll have all this recording. So I did this lovely little document that I wrote a while ago. It's about slouching. So do you remember being at school and being told, sit up straight, put your shoulders back, and all these things we were told. And when we do that, we might stay there for 2 seconds, but we can get doing other things, and we kind of go back into the slouch again. So in the Feldenkrais, the way we look at slouching is often when we slouch, it's the flexor muscles, which are the muscles in the front that fold the body, that get tight. And so if we try to sit up straight, we're kind of fighting against ourselves. So in this lesson, and in many of the the idea in the Feldenkrais, we follow the pattern that the body's already doing. So I've got this in the yellow here. It may not be in the red here. It may not be your back at all. It could be your front. Your flexor muscles in the front of your torso may have shortened because of a powerful protection reflex that pulls us into a ball when we feel threatened. So it's looking at things in a different way. How do we take away that threat? How do we move in such a way that our body feels safe enough to let go? So I've also got this other picture that I wanted to show you that I know some of you have seen before. And it's a picture of the what happens in the body. This pattern of the flexor contraction is reinstated every time an individual reverts to passive protection of himself when lacking the means or doubting his power of active resistance. So we automatically tighten like this and fold ourselves like that. And then there's another little picture that goes with this, which is this one. This is called the Moro reflex, the startle reflex. And babies, when they're in these first few months of life, they'll go like this and suddenly jump. And sometimes I think we do it I know I do it in my sleep, or if I'm shocked by something, it'll kind of like stimulate that reflex. So we have this way of trying to protect ourselves. And this is a guy in the war somewhere, or protecting himself. So we have this flexion pattern as a protective mechanism. So and I think at this time with the coronavirus and everything that's happening, there's this state of uncertainty, and we're facing the unknown. So we can easily go into this protective, like posture, like trying to protect ourselves and hold ourselves. Anyone, any questions or comments about that?
No, that's good.
Okay. Okay. So this lesson is done on your back, and
Right.
I was just talking to Claire during the week, talking about sometimes she's not sure whether I'm saying right, left, or whatever. If that happens in the lesson, well, I'll just come back out of the stop share so I can come back to here. If that happens, just if you put your hand up like this and wave at me, I'll say to you, is this, you're not sure of right and left? And you can say yes or no, or if it's something else, you can ask me. So you can always stop me during the lesson by waving at me or something, and I'm going to mute you now, but if I see you put your hand up, I'll unmute you so that I can hear what you're saying. And so so is anyone else in any, like, I know Bev has said that stomach's not wonderful today, and Peter, Anne's had that problem with your lower back. So hopefully this will be a really nice lesson for you to help, because if you've got those disc generation there in your back, this lesson will help to lengthen those spaces between those discs, hopefully. Anyone else in pain that I need to know about? I muted myself. Can you hear me now? I muted everybody, including me. So, okay. Okay, so lie on your back and just sense how you're resting on the floor this morning. If you need some support under your head, or if you need something under your knees, just create that for yourself. So just pay attention to how you're lying on the floor this morning. How does the floor support you? Can you settle into the floor? Are there parts of you that feel like they're on stilts? Notice if you have any discomfort in your back. And if you're feeling any discomfort in your lower back in particular, and your knees and your legs are long, maybe bend your knees up. So notice which parts of you are touching the floor and which parts are lifted up. So sense how your heels are touching the floor, how your calves are resting. Notice the back of your knees. Sense your thighs. Notice the weight in your buttock. Is one buttock feel heavier on the floor than the other? Notice the space behind your waist. Your lower ribs touch the floor. Notice your shoulders. One shoulder feel heavier on the floor than the other. Feel how your arms are lying. Yes, I can notice Trish is putting a little blanket, something over her. Make sure you're warm because it's cool. So you're all feeling warm enough where you are. Okay. Because if you get cold, that's another thing about this cold weather. We kind of like tighten ourselves and flex our body with the cold. So making sure you stay warm. And notice your breathing, just the length of your in-breath and the length of your out-breath. And do you have a sense of your vertebrae in the back? There's a picture that I had here to show you and I forgot, but have you ever seen Swiss cheese with all the little holes in it? I'll show you a bit later. But so often one of the things Anna Banyol says, she uses this image of the Swiss cheese effect. She said, we have this image of ourselves with little holes in it. And so we're just going to go up through your spine, just to sense what are there any holes in your awareness in your vertebrae of your spine. So notice how your tailbone, can you feel your tailbone? Can you feel your sacrum? Can you feel your lumbar vertebrae? There's 5 vertebrae in the lumbar region. And so if you go up through the vertebrae, L5, L4, L3, L2, L1, notice in your thoracic area, T12, T11, so you've got 12 vertebrae in your thoracic area, and these vertebrae each have ribs attached to them. So they, at the back, these ribs attach, and 10 of them attach in the front to the sternum, and 2 are floating in the front. So you've got T12, T11, T10, T9, T8, T7, T6, T5, T4, T3, T2, T1. And then in your neck, you have 7 cervical vertebrae, C7, C6, C5, C4, C3, C2, C1. And then you've got your skull and your head is resting on the floor. So which of those vertebrae are touching the floor at the moment? So you feel with everybody, some are, some aren't. And so just noticing the ones that are pressing into the floor and the ones that are maybe lifted a little bit off the floor. Okay. Bend up your knees and put your feet standing. And notice does that change the vertebrae that touch the floor just by doing that little movement. And interlace your fingers and put them behind your head. Is that a problem for anyone? And have your elbows kind of facing forward a little bit. So you're not having the elbows way out to the side, but just facing forward a little bit. And with the help of so you've got your arms, your hands behind your head like that. And with your help of your arms, just lift your head a little bit off the floor. So your elbow is kind of facing the ceiling, and just feel what it's like to lift your head a little bit off the floor and then put it back down, not straining anything, just noticing what it's like at the moment to lift your head. And then as you lift your head, can you also lift your right leg a little bit? So you bring up your right knee towards you. So you're lifting your head and you're lifting your right leg at the same time. And then bringing them both back down. And can you direct your right elbow in the direction of your left knee? And that doesn't mean they have to touch. You're just thinking of this trajectory of your right elbow going in the direction of your left knee. And it could even just go just 1 or 2 centimeters, that's fine. It's your right elbow towards your right knee. Or you could think of it as your right knee towards your right elbow. So your right elbow is coming towards your right knee, and your right knee is coming in the direction of your right elbow. So it's just a gentle movement with a range that's comfortable for you. And notice, do you breathe in or do you breathe out as you do that movement? And is it easier? Just try both ways. Maybe you feel it as you do. So don't go to the other side just yet. Just keep the same. So just the right elbow towards the right knee. Don't worry about the left one just yet. The right elbow towards the right knee, and just have a little rest. So these aren't doing, it's not like doing sit-ups. That's a really important thing to know. We're doing something very different from sit-ups. It's getting your brain to organize all your joints and which muscles to contract, so that you do not have to use a lot of power to fold yourself. And just have a little rest. Let your arms come down by your side and rest. And if you're comfortable, you can let your legs come long if you like, or leave them bent, whichever's easier for you. So you're letting yourself just settle on the floor. So these rests are just as important as the movements, because they give your brain a chance to integrate the learning that takes place. And bring up your knees once again. We're going to do the movement again, and this time I want you to feel what might be getting in the way for you of the leg and arm being able to reach towards each other with ease. So we're doing the same thing, bringing your hands behind your head, interlacing your fingers behind your head, bringing up lifting up your head and bringing your right knee towards your right elbow. And notice as you do this, what do you do with your eyes? And then come back down again. So do your eyes look towards the knee as you're lifting? And just do that. Let your eyes look towards the knee as you're doing that movement. And then instead of looking towards your knee, can you do the movement but look straight ahead of you? Look up towards the ceiling. So you're doing this movement looking up towards the ceiling as you do this movement. And then can you do the movement looking behind you as you do the movement? So you're looking behind you. And does that make it a little bit harder to do the movement? Or maybe it makes it easier for some of you. And then look down again and see if that makes it easier to look where you're going and look towards the movement. And as you do these movements, you don't have to keep going if you feel these are straining. Just do the movements while it's easy. Just rest every now and again. You might want to just do the movements once or twice and then just rest, so that you give your body a chance to refresh itself and your brain a chance to restore itself. Okay, now come back to do the movement again. So you're lifting up you're lifting your arms and you're lifting that right leg. And notice what happens in your pelvis. Is your pelvis moving, or does your pelvis roll up a bit, or does it stay on the floor? And what would happen? Does your tailbone do something? Is a tailbone coming a little bit off the floor? And if you stop that pelvis moving, if you don't let that pelvis move, so you're just lifting up the leg and you're keeping the pelvis flat, feel what happens when you do that movement. You feel like it's like you can see that it's like they've got the brakes on. So as you let the pelvis move, so what we're after is, how do we move our whole body doing a movement? So how's our whole body involved in this movement? And sometimes we don't move our pelvis and everything becomes a lot of hard work. And can you be aware of what's happening in your breastbone, your sternum? The sternum's that bony part between your breasts. And does the sternum move at all? Can you feel your chest bone, your ribs folding down? And as you lift up your head and your knee, what happens in the back of you? So our body's kind of like a seesaw. When one part goes up or a couple of parts go up, another part goes down. So can you feel what part of you goes down more towards the floor as you do this movement? And just have a rest. Let your arms come down and rest. And just sense how you're lying on the floor now. Has anything changed in the way you're resting now compared to the beginning, even though we've only done just a couple of little movements here? Notice your breathing. Bend up your knees once again. And interlace your fingers, fingers behind your head. And this time, we're going to use the same right knee. So you're lifting up the same right knee, but you're directing your left elbow towards your right knee. So this time your left elbow comes towards your right knee. And feel what this is like. Notice as you do this, how that movement feels. Is it easier than the other side? Is it, so here we're moving on a diagonal. So noticing how you may notice, does your shoulder lift off the floor as you do this? And what happens if you don't lift your shoulder? If you do the movement and you don't lift your shoulder, so you're trying to lift your head without the shoulder moving, can you feel how kind of like you're straining and trying really hard to do that? And as you do this movement, can you feel the right pelvis again lifting off the floor? So your right side of your pelvis is lifting. And again, just going where it's easy to move, not straining or struggling. Not going to the full limit of your range, just staying within an easy range. So can you do less? If you feel like you're doing a big movement, can you do less? And can you move the top of your body the same amount as the lower part? So you're not over, you're not lifting your shoulder up a lot and not moving the pelvis much, but just, kind of like they just move a kind of like they're moving more easily, more the same amount together. And again, in this position, can you feel the part of you, what happens in your sternum this time? It makes a little bit of a different shape on the floor maybe. And what parts of your back press into the floor? You may even think that you could do the movement by pressing the middle of your back somehow into the floor as you do this movement. And just have a little rest. Sensing how you're resting on the floor. And if you're feeling any pain in your body, please just do less, hardly do the movement at all. So is your back okay, Peter Ann? Just raise your hand if you're okay. Okay, good. Yeah. And Bev, this is okay on your tummy? Yeah, okay. Okay, so when you interlaced your hands before, can you remember which thumb you had on top? Just bring your hands in front of you and interlace your hands the way that you interlace them. Like I would habitually put my left thumb on top, but you may do the opposite. So just notice, so you can see some of you have the opposite. So we're all different. So notice which way you have them. And then could you swap them around the other way? Put the other thumb on top. So that means you have to cross it around all your fingers. So you've got your hands one way, go back to your habitual way. And then, but you're not just swapping the thumbs over, you're swapping all the fingers over as well. So this is, this little movement, even though it's not much, it doesn't seem to be a big movement in terms of change and movement wise, but it has a huge effect in our brain. It's just a pattern that we're not used to at all. Hands have a very big representation in the brain. So if ever you feel you're confused in your mind, just doing this little movement on its own, just swapping over your hands like that is a way of switching on your brain. There's a really nice, and I can see Bev, Trish, you're just moving your hands, like curling them around a little bit, which is also another lovely thing to do. So it's really comforting. There's that huge area in the brain that's involved with our hands. Okay, so having your hands now, clasp them in that non-habitual way, interlace your fingers, bend up your knees once again. Place your hands behind your head with the elbows. So you've got your hands interlaced non-habitually, your hands are behind your bed, your head, I mean, not your bed. Your hands are behind your head. And your elbows are more facing towards the ceiling. And this time, can you lift up your left knee? That's the other knee, the left knee now. The left knee, and direct your left elbow towards your left knee. Your left elbow is coming towards your left knee. And noticing what it's like on this side. Maybe easier, it may be more difficult. And sensing what parts of you move as you do that movement, noticing what happens in your upper body. Do your shoulders lift off the floor? And noticing, does your pelvis move on the floor? Does your left hip lift a little bit off the floor? Does your pelvis tilt back? Your tailbone tip up in the air a little bit? And maybe even just do less. Just do half of what you're doing. And just feel what it's like just to do half of what you're doing. So you still get the pattern, and do you notice more when you do less? And can you move even slower? So you start to really notice. Sometimes if we've got a difficulty, something's not moving much. If we go fast, we kind of like go over the bump and don't realize that something's not moving. So notice what happens in your sternum as you do that movement. Notice what happens in behind your lower back and your waist, and just rest when you need to. Actually, all of you have a rest. Yeah. Notice your breathing now. Was that difficult for you, Peter Ann? Yeah. Of course, you put pain, did it? Yeah, that diagonal movement. Yeah, okay. So maybe bring your knees over your chest. Just bring both of your legs over your chest and just, does that ease the pain a little bit? Yeah, yeah. And just rest like that. So, so Peter Ann has problems with the discs in her back, so I'm just watching how she moves, and yeah. So just take it really, really easy, and and when we do these movements now, just do them in your imagination if you find that you're getting into pain with doing them. Are you happy there on your back? Or would you rather turn to the side a bit? Yeah, just lie on your side if you need to. Just yeah. Okay. So as you're resting there, just feeling how you're lying on the floor. Has that pain settled, Peter Ann? Yeah, okay. Okay. Just bring your hands behind you, interlace your hands behind your head again. And this time, direct your left knee towards your right elbow. So maybe just imagine it, Peter Ann, but rather than doing the movement. So your left knee is now going towards your right elbow. And feel what that movement's like. Just go really softly. Is that okay that way for you? Yeah, okay. Yeah. And notice as you do that movement how your shoulder, the right shoulder maybe lifts a little bit more off the floor, how your left side of your pelvis can lift a little, and feel the trajectory where the pressure is in your back along that diagonal. What parts can press into the floor more? Just going gently, slowly. So it's not about your elbow and knee touching, it's about the quality of the movement. Where can you soften? Where can you let go? And just have a little rest. Just allowing the floor to support you, feeling how Mother Earth holds you. So for our system to change, for us to actually change our habits, we need to feel safe. So if you have this sense that all these movements are, you're kind of giving yourself a big hug. You're holding yourself, supporting yourself, not trying to beat yourself into submission or make something happen, but to support yourself and allow something to let go, because your body is very clever, and it knows, it's learnt to protect you at a time when it needed protection. And it's going to, if you try and force it too fast or too hard, it's still going to try and hold those protective mechanisms. So you need to be really gentle and kind to yourself, and allow yourself to find the timing that you need to unwind and unravel yourself, and to feel safe enough to do that. Okay, so notice your breathing as you're lying there, and the parts of you, when we looked at in the beginning how the vertebrae touch the floor, notice how they're touching the floor now. Okay, bend up your knees once again. Put your feet standing. And this time, can you place your right hand behind your head? So just your right hand behind your head, and your left hand behind your right knee. Your left hand behind your right, in front of your right knee, like not behind, not in that crease behind the knee, but in front of. So bring your knee up enough, bend your right knee up, and bring your hands up over the knee, and hold more or less on your shin, kind of like where the shin is, yeah. And in this position, can you gently bring your right elbow and your right knee towards each other? So you're lifting your head, so your right elbow and your right knee come towards each other, just gently. And then coming back and bringing your right elbow and your right knee towards each other. And noticing, does the pelvis move at all? Or have you just got your knee fixed there? And can you think of what would it be like to let the knee itself move off the floor? Maybe you could even use your left foot on the floor, pressing your left foot into the floor a little bit. So your left foot is on the floor. You're just lifting up your right knee. So you've got your left hand over the top of your right knee, and like over the top of your right knee, over the top, like on the shin. Take it over the other side, but kind of from the side a little bit. Bring your hand around, yeah, like that, yeah. So you're bringing and if you want it, you can come up closer to your knee if you want. Bring your head, yeah, that's it. So you're bringing your right knee towards and noticing. When I say with your left foot could maybe press a little bit into the floor to help that movement if you want. Yeah. So again, you're noticing so your pelvis is lifting a little bit off the floor. You're lifting your head and noticing what's happening in your sternum and your breastbone, and noticing the part of your back that gets a chance to press into the floor now. What part, and maybe you could even think of pressing that part into the floor to help this flexion movement in the front. And just let that go and rest. Sensing how you're resting on the floor now. But there's a subtle thing that happens, and I just want to address what's happening with Peter Ann. I've had lots of people with problems like that. Many people have lower back pain and the discs are ruptured and all sorts of things. So, that problem happens in the first place with a lot of compression in that area. And so we're thinking of, and what happens is that there's sort of like that compression, but working this way of taking over the work of the flexors allows the back to start to lengthen again. So it's kind of like you're folding that sense of like you're hugging yourself to take over the work of the muscles in front to allow that lengthening to happen in the back. So, yeah. because whenever there's pain like that, and there's been lots of work, there's been lots of driving, pushing, unless you've actually had an accident, but often it's wear and tear over time, the way we're using ourselves. And so, and by coming at it from a different way, rather than telling your back, come on, lengthen, you're doing it in a different way, taking your attention somewhere else, thinking of the flexors and what's happening in the front, which allows room to move for these parts that feel threatened. Yeah. Okay. So, when I was preparing this movement this morning, I was thinking of Claire. We talked during the week about confusion about left, right. I must say, when I was doing this lesson, I've got things underlined because I'm thinking, what do I say? Right, left, right. I start talking about something, then I forget what I'm up to. But anyway, I've got my notes. I'm going to have a look, see what I'm doing. It's different when I'm in person with you. I can see, and like I'm not sure whether this is a mirror image or what's happening here. But anyway. Okay, come to that same movement again. So bending up bending up your knees, interlacing your right hand behind your head, your left hand in front of your right knee. Now, this time, don't let your pelvis move. Lift up your head, but don't let that pelvis move. And feel how the movement is when you inhibit the movement of the pelvis. And now let the pelvis move, and actually take a breath out. As you do this, let the breath out, let the breath exhale. And then as you let go, as you bring your head down and your knee down, let your breath come into your belly. So you can take a breath into your belly, give a bit of room in your belly. And then as you breathe out, let go and feel what that's like. So you're allowing your pelvis to move. So this is a typical thing that happens. One part doesn't move for whatever reason, and there are lots of reasons that can happen. And then we try and yank ourselves. We try and pull ourselves. You can try and yank your knee or pull your leg towards you, rather than think. And if you just can allow that pelvis to move, allow yourself to broaden your awareness. This is what awareness is: awareness of how everything moves together. Okay, and just and listen as you do this to the length of your spine, so that there's folding that's happening in the front and there's a lengthening that's happening in the back. And just have a rest. Legs come down. And feel the way you're lying on the floor. You even feel one leg feels a little bit longer than the other. Yeah. Bend up your knees once again. And this time, bring your right knee over your chest, but swap your hands around. So this time we're going to put your left hand behind your head, your left hand behind your head, and your right hand in front of the right knee. So the knee, it's the same right knee, but your hands are swapped over. So you've got your right hand around your right knee and your left hand behind your head. And very gently bring your left knee and your right knee and your left elbow towards each other. And again, noticing, feeling the movement that happens in your shoulders. You feel your left shoulder lifts off the floor, and noticing, does any movement happen in the pelvis? And actually don't let that pelvis move, whatever you do, just stop it moving and feel what you have to do if you don't let the pelvis move, how much more work is involved. And then let the pelvis move as well. So you're lifting the right side of your pelvis off the floor. You may even want to press with your left foot to help that happen. And sensing, and just again, not straining anything, but just going not to your fullest range, but just where the movement's light and easy. And going slowly, letting yourself come down slowly as well, just gently. And for you, Bev, with the problems with your stomach too, these gentle movements taking over the work of the flexors in front can maybe help create a little bit of space in your belly. Like letting go, that can happen. Yeah. And just have a little rest. So in this lesson, we're doing lots of different movements in all sorts of directions. And that's just to give we talked about before, creating variation, giving the brain lots of different possibilities to start switching on these lights and filling in the holes in that Swiss cheese. Coming into that same position again, bending up your knees, bringing your right knee over your chest, your left hand behind your head. And this time, instead of thinking of the left elbow going towards the left knee, can you think of your forehead going in the direction of your left knee? And that doesn't mean you have to touch at all. It's just gently moving in that direction. So your left knee is going in the direction, and sensing how your sternum can slide down so that those lower ribs can come and press more into the floor as well. And let that go and have a rest. Sensing how you're resting on the floor. And just sensing yourself as, if you're feeling struggling, you're straining, you're trying too hard, just do less. And even if you just want to lie there and visualize it, that's fine with me. And that, in fact, that you can do a lot more that way than trying to struggle and strain and force something to happen. So if you're happy to continue, bend up your knees. And this time, bring your left hand behind your head, and bring your right knee over. So you're bending up your knees, bringing your left. So your both feet are on the floor. Both feet are on the floor. And this time we're bringing up the left knee. We're bringing up the left knee. So you're bringing up your left knee. Your left hand is behind your head, and your right hand is around your left knee. Your right hand is around your left knee. Does that make sense to all of you? Yeah. So you've got your left hand behind your head. You've lifted up your left knee, and your right hand is around your left knee. And now bring your left elbow and your left knee towards each other, just going very gently in the direction of each other, not trying too hard, and coming down, and not going to the fullest range, like not going to the end result. You're not screwing on something onto a lid onto a bottle. You're just going a little way and coming back, staying within the range of comfort. So you're not wanting to force your body to do anything. You're supporting it and holding it so that it can find its own way back to itself. So noticing as you do that, what can you soften? And how much of you is involved in that movement? You may feel your shoulder moving. Notice, does your sternum move? Does your pelvis lift off the floor as you do the movement on this side? And feel what it's like if you don't let your pelvis move. Whatever you do, let the pelvis move, and feel what happens if you try and lift your head. And then, and just maybe if you want to have a rest, when you've had enough of that, just rest. So it's learning to listen to yourself and to know when you need to rest. That's one of the advantages of pain, is that we become more aware of ourselves, and we know we can't push ourselves beyond the limits without causing pain, and that's like the red light goes on. So it actually has an advantage in some way. We learn how to be gentle with ourselves. Sensing how you're lying on the floor, noticing your breathing. Bending up your knees once again. Bringing your left hand behind your head. Bringing your left knee over your chest. And your right hand around your left knee. And this time thinking of bringing your forehead in the direction of your knee. So your forehead's going in the direction of the knee. Notice that slight difference in the trajectory. Thinking what can soften. Can you feel your sternum sliding down? Noticing how the pelvis lifts. Notice the parts of you that touch the floor. Notice your breathing. And where are you looking? Can you be looking in the direction of your knee? And rest, have a little rest now. Sensing how you're lying on the floor. Noticing the parts of you that are touching the floor now, they're giving their weight to the floor. Has anything changed since the beginning? And bend up your knees once again. Bring your left knee over your chest. And we're just going to change the arms around this time. So bring your right hand behind your head and your left hand around your left knee. And bring your right elbow and your left knee towards each other. Just go really gently and just take it easy with this movement, Peter. And I think that was where you got unstuck before. So. And sensing, does your pelvis move as you do this movement? Notice your shoulder. Do the ribs move? How does your sternum slide? Remember, doing less, not trying to go to the maximum. Even just the beginning of the movement, sometimes you learn more that way about what's not moving. If you go to the full range of the movement, you recruit things that you don't need to recruit and sometimes. And the organisation of the movement starts right at the initiation of the movement. And just rest. Sensing how you're lying on the floor. Okay. So just listen to your body, and you may have had enough. I've given you lots and lots of movements. We're just going to do one more movement that is a bit of a tongue twister for me to say and even to do. So if you feel that you just listen to your body and feel if it feels like you've had enough, just rest. But if you feel like you'd like to go on, bend up your knees, put your feet standing, bend your left knee over your chest and hold it with your right hand. So your left knee holding with your right hand. Turn your head to the right. Turn your head to face the right and put your left hand behind your right ear. So your left hand goes behind, so it goes over, it goes over the side of like, it goes as if you're putting your hand behind your head, but just slides a little bit more over to the right ear, yeah. And now in this direction, can you bring your left elbow towards your left knee? So your head is facing the left, and you're bringing your left, lifting up your head, bringing your left elbow towards your left knee, and just take it really gently if you feel, and yes, I can see some of you just decided that that's a bit much, which it is, and that's wonderful that you did that. Oh, you can't. So you want me to explain it again? Yeah. So you've got your right hand over your left knee, you're turning your head to the right, your head's looking towards the right, you're putting your hand behind your head and sliding it across a little bit more to be touching your right ear. So you've got your right knee, right hand over your right leg, yep, and your hand the other way, so behind, and turn your head to the right. And you've got your head twisted kind of. And then in this position, can you lift your head towards the knee? So you've got your right hand around your left knee, right hand around your left knee. Your head is to the right, and you're just lifting your head towards the knee, your elbow towards the knee. So this creates, quite a twist in your spine. So just go easy with that. And if it's too much, forget about it. Just rest. And maybe just rest. That's enough. Just, yeah. So in the notes that I've given you, this movement is in there. You can go look at that yourself in your own time and play with that a little bit. So she does do it on the other side, but I think I'll leave that. And we're just running out of time here. So just sense how you're lying on the floor now and feel the parts of you that are, if you think of your vertebrae that we went up before, how are they resting on the floor now? Has it changed since the beginning? Notice your breathing, how your back rests on the floor. And bend up your knees and roll to your side and come to sitting just gently. Standing up in that spiral pattern. And just sitting, staying and sitting for a little, just sensing your spine and sitting. How your spine's supporting you. And feel free to stay on the floor if you don't want to come up. It's fine. You don't have to do anything. And if you feel ready, come up to standing. And just sensing how you are in standing. Noticing that there's a sense of the slouch in your spine. Has that changed at all from the beginning? Sensing how your back feels. How does it, do you feel that your spine is, you've got a spine to support you more now or not? Some may not. Maybe just walk around a little bit and just sense, just slowly walking, sensing how your spine supports you as you're walking. And then come back and sit down and we'll have a little talk. And I'll unmute you. Unmute all. Yeah. I don't know why I can't unmute you, Sue. Can you might have to unmute yourself. I can unmute everyone else.
Probably because when I couldn't.
I don't know why we also couldn't unmute you. So if you think of that number between 1 and 10 that you had before, has anything changed from whatever that number was? Or do you feel different to how you did in the beginning?
Better.
Yep, a bit better.
So
Better.
what does better mean, Sue? I can't, you've got your sounds off for some reason. Unmute. I don't know why you're, yeah, okay.
It's my fault. Okay. Yeah, I just feel so, yeah, especially across here and that, I feel so much more stretched and flexible, and I don't know, it's just great.
Get more space inside and more.
Yes.
Yeah. And emotionally, how do you feel? Like, has that affected your state of mind or something?
Yeah, this week for the first time I've been feeling I've enjoyed the coronavirus as far as doing different things, but I've got to the stage where I've sort of had enough now.
Yeah.
So doing this is really, really great.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Anyone else like to? You're getting a bit cold, Claire. Sometimes that happens in a lesson. That your nervous system slows down and gets cool. Yeah. It's good. You've got a blanket there, lovely green blanket. Take a care of
Beautiful.
Okay. How are you going, Trish?
Good. Yeah, my spine feels much more awake.
Yeah.
But interesting. It was easy for me to bring my leg up without moving my pelvis, and then I realised I wasn't moving it. It was like amazing. Then of course it was much easier, but I didn't notice that my pelvis was firstly just nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's filled in one of the little holes in the Swiss cheese.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. And Anne, how are you going?
Well, I feel a bit more aware of my spine and my back, I think, but I can't quite describe the sensation. I don't know whether it's more open or whether I've just activated muscles. I'm not sure. I can't really.
Yeah. How does it feel in your body? Like, do you feel comfortable?
Yeah, it feels okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I love your painting in the background.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
beautiful.
lovely, isn't it? It's a Bob Gibson from the Western Desert.
Ah,
It looks like little spines up there.
yeah. Rhonda, yeah.
Oh, thank you. And Bev, how did you go?
I've actually felt looser in the hips, in the front of the hips when I stood up and walked.
Okay.
But as I was doing the elbow to knee, I still felt tightness, pain in the collarbone, neck, which I always had when I did sit-ups as well.
Yes. Yeah.
So I just don't know whether I was uneven in how much I was bringing up the shoulder.
Mhm.
And then I realised I was hardly pulling up my knee at all at times. I tried to balance that.
Yes.
Yeah.
One nice thing you could do is just take your arm across, like even in sitting, just across like that.
Where? How?
Like this. Like if I get up a little bit,
Oh, yeah.
doing these.
Oh, that way.
Yes, you could even just do
Okay.
that in sitting and just going down
Yeah.
like that. It can be quite a challenge. Like I used to find that movement really difficult because of the whiplash injury in my neck, and that everything was like locked in here.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I've got all this tightness from years of hairdressing.
yeah.
I think
Yeah, so
I've always had to try to open
yeah.
more. It has improved since I've stopped that, but I have retained whenever I get tense. It's
Yeah.
as we shoulders in.
If you lie
Yeah.
down for a minute, I'll just show you. If you can just lie down on your back and bend your knees up, and then bring up your right leg and put your left hand in front of the right knee. Now, instead of lifting the head, just let your knee move away from you. So move it away. So you're taking your head stays on the floor, and you're just letting the knee take the shoulder for the ride.
Yeah.
So
Feel it.
and then come back, lifting it up and come back. So that may be another movement, and
Oh.
do that.
That's good. I can feel the stretch. Yes.
Yeah, and thinking of what's happening in that middle of your back as you do that, so that feeling how the like all those years of hairdressing where you kind of brace yourself, you lose that sense of how the sternum can move. But if you do that little movement and just think, well, what's pressing into the floor as I do this? And even if you feel your lower back's lifting, that part is lifting off the floor, get a little towel there so you can actually press down into something. You could even put your right hand behind your back, behind that middle of your back where your waist is, those lower backs are. And then as you do that movement, take your knee over and you can feel how that can press down.
Yes.
And and that'll,
that's good.
That movement. And then your head can just tilt back and you don't have to worry about, it's just, for you, that lesson would have been just too many things to be thinking of.
Yes.
That's all. And this for all of you is a really nice movement that you can do. So,
Oh, thank you.
yeah, and
That's
hopefully
good.
that'll help. How's your tummy feeling after that?
Yeah.
A little bit easier. So all these digestive things that we get, this area gets tight, and here these flexors, everything just tight. So doing these movements.
Rhonda,
Claire.
Yeah, was that what you were just showing Beverly? Was it the opposite hand and leg?
It will be. You can do it on the same side. You can take. I just did it opposite because it's more obvious that way.
Okay, but both.
You could do it same side. You could do all those movements that we did in that lesson without lifting your head, and you get that differentiation through here.
Yeah, that felt like that might be what I need to do.
Yes, yeah, and it is quite a challenge lifting the head. And So how did you go, Claire, in that lesson?
Oh yeah, I feel pretty sore and pretty cold, so a bit fragile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So always it is like less is more for you.
Yeah.
And just maybe getting a heater or something in that room.
I find it difficult not to be able to see. I learn by seeing, so nothing to see. It's all hearing, and that's not so good for me.
No.
Yeah. I want to look up and just see what you or someone else is doing and then follow that.
Can you look across at some of the other people?
But then they're so small I can't see. Like I couldn't see then whether Beverly was the same leg or the opposite leg. That's why.
So when I do the actual lessons with you, I can work away like I'll shift this and I can show you the movements. as well.
Yeah, that probably, yeah. I just get confused sometimes because I can't see anything.
Yeah.
I'm just relying on
I was
what.
watching you. You seem to be like finding some of those were quite, you know, like lots of things, all these different directions. But, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. How do you feel now when you got up? Just still cold.
Me?
Yeah.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt better when I got up than when I started. Yeah. Yeah, so I could definitely feel some improvement there. Yeah.
And when you get a bit warmer, move around, it might, you know.
Yeah, well, I'm warming up now.
Seeing how you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thanks, Claire. And Peter Ann, how was your first lesson?
Yeah, good. Oh, I could barely move my hips. So,
Yeah.
they could have been a slab of concrete.
Yes. Yeah. And
So I think that'll take a bit of time to get that.
Yes. And you know, it's like honoring your body. That's why it's protected itself. That's why it's trying to protect you. And so there's like a bit, but just the fact that you've noticed it.
Yes.
That raises the awareness. It switches on the lights and
I also found where you said to do just even less of the movement, and that was even harder than taking my whole leg up. My leg can do whatever I want it to do.
Yes.
Trying to do it slowly and then get the hip to work.
Yeah. When we go fast, we'll
momentum.
Disorganized way. When we go slow, we have to move. Yeah. So, but you did. You know, like I was watching you. You were just taking care of yourself, and it was lovely to watch you. So
yeah, thank you.
So I hope you benefit. How are you feeling now after that?
Good. I had done quite a bit of stretching and walking before the start.
Yeah.
So that made it, better. But yeah, it does. The spine feels freer. It hasn't changed the way I'm standing, but it does feel more flexible.
Yes, and it's just first approximations as yet.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's like, your first lesson is it's not so easy. If I'm there in person.
Yes.
Yes. And also.
I'm sorry, I must leave, Rhonda. Sorry, okay. I've got to get somewhere. Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
See you, love.
Bye, Trish.
Yeah, so there's other aspects of the work too. There's the hands-on work that some of you have had that you've got an injury like that can touch you and feel and help you feel safe.
Yes.
Enough to move your body. But, yeah. Okay, so any questions from any of you?
No. But thank you very much again.
Yes, pleasure. So
thank you.
Hey,
great.
So this was I've been doing these free Feldenkrais on Friday for 5 weeks, and so next week I think you would have got. I'm starting off I thought I'd call it Aging with Ease and Grace, and teaching a little 6-week course, and I can send you some details, Peter Ann, about that. Just so the cost is for 6 weeks it's $60 or $12 a session, and then if you sign up for the 6 weeks and pay up front, you get. I've also did a course called Computer Comfort for some workplace health and safety thing years ago, which has a lot of lovely lessons about how to sit at a computer. And so you get that little course, and then also a lesson which Ruthie Long, one of the trainers that I love, taught, called The Knees Take the Spine on a Holiday, which is a lovely lesson. So you get the audio file for that. But so before you go, I'm just wondering if you would mind just saying, I know some of you have been here for a while, for a few weeks, and just has this helped you, and would you recommend this to anybody, just so that I can use this as a testimonial to.
Yeah, it's been wonderful.
Yeah,
been wonderful, Rhonda. If I hadn't have had it all these weeks,
yeah,
it would have been, I don't know. Yeah, so it's great.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
That's good. Thank you, Rhonda. It's been my Friday morning go-to.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, I need it. It's I've been too much gung-ho with a lot of hard exercise, and I do have some problems with, I think it's my nervous system, which affects my health in different ways.
Yes.
And I do feel better doing this regularly.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Bev. Yeah.
I think it's been marvellous. The free Feldies on Fridays, I've even loved saying it. But it's been a really nice opportunity to be kind to myself on Fridays. So thank you. Just that sense of well-being and resting rather than should do this, I should do that. It's been very nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Yeah.
Yeah, I always feel better afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah. Good,
Yeah.
good, Claire.
Yeah, really. I enjoy it, and I without fail I feel better after having done it. So yeah.
Okay. And Peter, you've only been here for one session, but
well, you were recommended to me.
Okay.
And the two people that are familiar with your work are nothing but good today. So, well, after this back injury, and it has been already been 8 weeks, and I'm, but it can still only push it back. Help.
Thank you, Peter, Anne. Yeah. Okay, so I've had a wonderful time with you all, and so thank you very much. And I hope that you come and play with me again. So in this, you've got to go, Bev, have you? Oh, but I just sorry, I put you on mute because I might turn this off. Oh no, I'll keep it on by talking. She's got to go. Okay. So in this next course, I intend to do, well, just do movements to grow the brain, and like we've been doing, and help you move more easily and better in yourself.